Hello, everybody. Welcome to Meet Docubee. We are so excited to introduce you to our all-in-one contract automation platform today. Before we get started, I'm going to introduce you to today's team. My name is Ariana Latour. I'm a product marketing manager here at Docubee. I'm going to be giving you a little introduction to the Docubee product, and I'll be moderating the webinar today. I'm joined by Michael Griffith, who is the Senior Manager of Customer Success and Sales Engineering for both Accusoft and Docubee. Michael is a master Docubee workflow builder, and he's going to be the one giving us a tour of the platform today. Michael will also be answering questions at the end of the webinar in our live Q&A, but don't feel like you need to wait until the end. You can send in any questions that you have while we go through the webinar by entering them in the question section on the GoToWebinar panel. With all of that out of the way, let's talk about Docubee. So Docubee is an all-in-one intelligent contract automation platform that helps you fly through contracts by streamlining your processes from start to finish. We do that through 6 main contract stages, which you can see here: gather, generate, share, collaborate, sign, and integrate. And I'll touch on each of these a little bit. In the gather stage, you can collect information to incorporate into your contracts and agreements. You can have clients submit information and documents from easy-to-use forms, or you can pull them from systems or databases that you already use. Generate allows you to dynamically create documents through pre-built templates of the contracts that you use the most. You can create them on the fly with AI inside the product, or you can create and edit your own from scratch in our document editor. When it's time to share, you can seamlessly route contracts and agreements for review, completion, and approval, either as needed, or you can do it based on a set of rules and conditions. Our collaborate features make it easy to work with internal and external participants to edit and negotiate contracts in real time. It means no more having to download and email different versions of your contracts back and forth. In the signing stage, you can collect legally binding e-signatures from participants on any device, and those come complete with signing certificates that include IP addresses, geolocation, and more security features as needed. And finally, integrate allows you to connect to the systems that you use daily, or you can incorporate our contract automation features into your existing applications with our APIs. And we believe that seeing is believing, so I'm going to go and hand things over to Michael so that he can give us a tour of the Docubee platform.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Griffith. I'm the Senior Manager of Customer Success and Sales Engineering teams at Docubee and Accusoft, and I'm excited to get to show you around inside the product. So let me back out of here real quick. And when we log into Docubee, this is what you'll be looking at. This is our dashboard page. So up top, we have some quick links just getting into some features that we have. Gives you an overall view of what your organization standing is, workspaces, and any processes that you have currently in progress or completed. So just to touch on workspaces real quick, what these are is what we like to describe as little groups. So you can see I'm part of many different groups. And what you can do is set permissions based off of if you're allowed to see visibility into these workspaces. So for instance, if I wasn't a part of this demo workspace, when I logged in, I wouldn't even see this on my list. So just so you know, you have some permissions based off of what workspaces you're allowed into. So today I'm going to be taking you through the product, and we're going to kind of go through 3 different stages as I've kind of broken it down. Something from a simple use case, a very simple process, and then we're going to kind of ramp our way up to something that's a little bit more complex. So what I'm going to start with is what we call quick sign, which is simply I have a document, I need to get it signed by either myself or multiple participants. So from the dashboard, you can quickly just hit get a document signed. Here you're able to upload up to 20 different documents to sign or send for signature. You can upload them from your computer. You can pull from the Docubee document library if you have anything stored there. And you can also pull from Google Drive or Dropbox or use one of our templates. I'm going to pull something from my actual computer here. And I have an NDA here that I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and upload that. You can see because I'm part of multiple workspaces, it's going to ask me which workspace do I want to send this in. I'm going to keep it in my demo workspace since that's where we're going to be working out of today. And I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. Now the next screen it presents me with is asking, who are we sending this to, or am I just signing it myself? So for this demonstration, I'm going to send it out for signature to a couple different individuals. So here you can see we have one role, one person to send to right now. We can easily add more signers here. You can add up to 6 different signers here, and they're very easy to remove as well by just hitting those little X's. We can also add additional recipients. Now, these individuals are not part of the signing process, but once that document's complete, they will receive a finalized copy of it. So we're not going to do that for this demonstration. And here for these roles, what I'll go ahead and do is put in some emails here. So we're going to send one to mgriffith1@docubee.com. And we're also going to do the same for this bottom one. We're going to make this signer 2, so mgriffith2. Few things I want to touch on first is the set signing order. You see it's toggled on right now, and you see little numbers here. For this first person, it's a 1 and then a 2. What that means is when we send this document for signature, it's only going to kick an email off to this first person at first. Once they sign and complete their pieces, then it will kick off to that second person. So it's really following an order of the signing, right? We can toggle this off, and what that will do is they'll send an email to both individuals, right? And they're able to sign at any time. So it kind of just depends on what your use case is. For this, we'll keep it as set signing order. We also have a little gear icon here for each individual role. And when we get into these advanced settings, you can see I can, allow this user to decline or delegate to someone else. We can add some additional security. So Mike in Griffith 1 right here would have to enter a password, for instance, before he's able to view the document, or we can do the SMS two-factor. You can also customize notification emails. By default, this is the message that this individual would receive, but I'm allowed to type in here a different subject or a different body if I'd like to. So we do have these advanced settings for each individual in this process. And once you have all this set up, you're going to go ahead and hit continue. Now you're going to see the NDA that I uploaded here. And now we're able to start dropping some fields of what this person or these individuals will be able to interact with. So to my right, we see I'm selected on role 1 or M Griffith 1, and I get to put some fields that M Griffith would be able to interact with. So for instance, I want to gather a signature from him. You can see here that we can resize this box to make sense for the form that you're using. We have initials, date fields. We'll actually just throw a date field right here. So I can highlight that you can also pre-fill things. So this one, we'll have it selected where it's going to pre-fill for Michael. He won't have to select a date, it's just automatically going to go in there for them. And we can make this read only so that individual couldn't even change the date if they wanted to, right? We have text boxes, so they have to type something in, such as their name. And so we'll drop that here, and I'll resize this to kind of fit more appropriately. And say now these are all the fields I wanted M Griffith 1 to be interacting with on this document. I can now switch over to the second role, and you can see I have no fields assigned to this person yet. So we'll go ahead and add a signature box for them as well. And one thing to note, we color code them for you. So it's very easy to see which role is assigned to which fields, right? So we'll do the same thing here. We'll throw a date in here, and we'll throw a text box in here for them as well. So now that we have our document all set up with the fields that we'd like, actually, let me pre-fill this one as well. And we have it all set up. We're ready to send this for signature now. And I'm just going to hit send for signature. Now there's a few things we can do here before we send, such as naming this process, which will show up in our process list so we can track this later. I'll just do demo or webinar. How about that? And now we'll be able to track that. We can also add an expiration. So this document, we'll have it expire after, a month. So 30 days this thing's going to be sitting out. It'll expire on July 12th, and it'll automatically cancel out, and this document will be no longer accessible by these two people. So we'll go ahead and send this. The last thing Docubee is going to ask you is, do you send this document a lot? So instead of having to put these fields every time, we can actually save this as a template. So I'm going to put NDA demo. Let's do 2 because I think I already have one in there. And we'll save this as a template. And as you can see, it takes me right to our document library. And now I see I have NDA demo sitting here in my library. And at will, I can just say, quick sign this document. And here we go, we're ready to go. I don't have to manually place those fields every time. I just have to put the emails in and hit send for signature, and it sends it off for me. So going to our quick sign, we can see in process now. We have our demo for webinar that I spelled a little funky there. But we can now select this, and we can actually see that this has been sent. M. Griffith number 1 has never even viewed this document, and we're awaiting that signature. So let me go to my email. I should have gotten one here. Let me refresh this. And we see I have an email from Docubee to M. Griffith +1, and it's saying, hey, you have a document sent to review, fill, and sign. So one thing to point out is this person I sent this to does not have to have a Docubee login. This link here is unique to them. So when I click on this, it's going to automatically open up in their browser for them, and it will load that document in. And the only thing that they would be able to see is the fields that we've assigned them to interact with. You can see here we have 2 required fields remaining before they're able to hit submit document. If they tried to ahead of time, it would say, hey, you have to fill out all these required fields. So one thing I can do is I can just click on this, and it'll jump me down there. Now you see my signature is preloaded. That's because I'm logged in. For a person that doesn't have a login at all, it would present them with a screen like this where they're able to draw their signature or hand type it. So we'll go ahead and insert that new signature. And here in the text box, we're going to have to type in my name, right? Now that we've met all the requirements, this individual is able to submit this document. They'll get a nice little pretty screen that says signed, sealed, and delivered, and they know they can close their browser and they're done. Now, that automatically kicked out that second email to mgriffith2 now because we did that set signing order, and now they're able to review the document. Another thing to point out is if we come back here and I refresh this, those changes would be reflected on our instance list here. So once this loads, we can see now that M. Griffith had signed on June 12th, and now we're waiting for M. Griffith 2. So now that this is loaded in, again, we see the required fields for the second role here. They can see that the first person had signed, but they're unable to change anything. And so we're going to drop a signature in there and again, type a name in here. And once they're done, they'll submit the document and we're done. Now, what's going to happen is that once this is finally completed, we will get another email that my document's complete, and it comes back to the person that started it. So I'm the one that started this document up for signature. I will always get a copy back of the completed document, and I can go ahead and download this. So once I download this, I'll show you the certificate that's attached to it. So here we see our NDA, we see the signatures that were gathered, and if we scroll down, there's now this new document that's appended to it, and this is the certificate that shows the IP address. This is the entire audit trail, essentially, for this certified signature. Now, if we go back to our dashboard here and refresh, we should also see that it moved into the completed column for us, and we're able to preview and download the document from our dashboard here as well. So under quick signs, if I went to completed, we can see that it's here, it's been completed. I can preview the document and I can actually see all the signatures directly within Docubee. So that's our most like bare bones, very simple process. And let's move to something a little bit more complex. And that would be contracts. Everybody knows how tricky those can be, a lot of back and forth. So it's not as simple as just sending out for signature. Usually there's some type of redlining in process, right? So moving into our document section, you probably noticed already that we have a contract section. So here we just hit new, we can create a new contract, and we can start with a blank document, meaning we could just outright build one directly in here within Docubee. I'm going to name this demo 2, and we're going to start with actually a document I already have stored in my library. So I'm going to hit document library. You see it shows me all the Word docs that I have in here and are able to edit. I'll choose this contract template. We'll hit select and we'll hit create. So me being the creator, I'm the one that's going to be in control of this contract process, right? So right now it's loading in this document into our Word-like editor. So as you see, I'm here, I can start typing. It's just like a Word-like editor, right? I can bold, I can do strike throughs, I can do all the typical stuff that you might do. Now this is just me interacting with a document, and you see we have some stages here on the right. One thing I want to point out is that these stages are not required. You don't have to follow this process, but we usually break it up into things such as collaborate, which what we call is where you have internal participants. So these are people that are inside of your Docubee org and a part of that workspace, and you can invite them to collaborate on this document live with you, just like you would see like in a Google Doc, for instance. Now, negotiate is where we're pulling in outside parties, so people that are not part of our Docubee org. So that would be like the vendor or the contractor that you're sending this to, right? You want to invite them in to be able to make suggestions and redline before you move to approving and to that signing portion that we kind of just covered. So we'll get into these, but one thing I want to point out first is that we do have a discussion feature as well. So you can live chat with these individuals that you've brought into this document with you. We also have contract details, which is metadata and tags that you can add. So I can add a tag here. I can just name it whatever I'd like and hit add. And now on the back end, I'll be able to search for that. Same thing within these metadata fields, like an expiration date, renewal date. I'll be able to search to that with filters. We also have version history. So as you're making more changes here, you can actually go back to an old version or show a side-by-side comparison of a different version, right? So let's go ahead and jump into the live collaboration. I'll go right to negotiate, which is letting us invite some people that are not part of our organization. So you can see here, if I was going to invite someone within, I could grab them directly from my org, or if not, I'm going to type in their email. So we'll go ahead and grab mgriffith1 again, and we'll invite him to this document. And you see when I add, it's going to ask me what kind of permissions do I want to allow this person? Do they just want to be able to have the ability to view this contract, or do I want to allow them to make suggestions? So we're going to allow him to make suggestions, and we're going to go ahead and hit save. And as we do that, Docubee has kicked out an email to this individual. So if we come back, You see M. Griffith 1 got an email saying you've been sent a contract for negotiation. Again, they don't have to have a login. This link is unique to them. So they click on it. It's going to open up in their browser for them. And this will be a little bit tricky here with one screen sharing, but I want to show that we have, oh boy, here we go. Let me minus this real quick. We have two different screens, right? This is the individual M. Griffith one, and here I am as the creator, right? So if I'm the creator, I can see actually just like Google Docs, if I hover over here, I can see who's in the document with me. And what I want to showcase here, if I can figure this out, let me just shrink this down so you can see both. How about that? I want to show how this is live. So here I am, M. Griffith 1, and I have the ability to make suggestions. I want to say I want to delete this whole sentence here. If once I do that, you can see it live. It pops up on this screen, which is a little panel, and you can see it strikes it through. And me being the creator, I have to accept this change or reject this change. So they're only able to make suggestions, and I'm still in control of this document. Alternatively, they can also they can leave comments as well. So if they wanted to leave a comment here, again, that's live. That will appear on my screen as they're typing it, right? And me being the controller of this document, I have to be the one that's going to resolve or accept those changes. So for this, I'm just going to reject both of them, and I'm going to resolve this comment so we can move forward. So now that you and the person have done the back and forth, the negotiating and all the redlining, the editing that you'd like to do, now we're ready to move into that approval stage of where we have both parties agree that, yes, we're ready to move forward and go into signing. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this off to approvals. And it's going to ask me, who do we want that has the ability to approve this document? So here, me being the creator, I want to keep control over that. I want to be the one approving it for my team, but I also am going to let the receiving team, M. Griffith 1, be the one that's able to approve. So we're going to hit save. And you can see now this has appeared for me. I can go ahead and approve this for my team. And on their screen as well, let's move this over a little bit. They get notified that that I have approved it for my team. I can go ahead and dismiss that, and we're waiting for them to approve for theirs. Once both of those approvals have taken place, we now automatically move into the signing stage. You can see it kick this outside party out of the contract because there's no editing is no longer available, and we're moving forward into the progress. So we can go ahead and close this screen. And now me as the owner, I'm going to dismiss this, and I'm going to hit send for signature. So you can see it automatically brings up me to receive a finalized copy, and I can add any other parties I want. Now, if I knew the parties that were already here involved in the editing and the collaboration, I could go ahead and check this and check that they receive a copy. And when I save that and I hit send for signature, it'll already populate that stuff for them. And as you can see, this modal looks very similar to what I showed you earlier, our quick sign process. And that is because it's leveraging our quick sign, our eSign API. So this will go through the same process. When I hit continue, I'm able to drop those fields and it'll kick out for signature. So that's more the complex situation. I know a lot of you guys are probably doing contracts through email, multiple versions. You get kind of confused. This allows you to keep control over that contract and keep it all within one spot. Now, moving to something even more complex than that. I know you're probably going, wow, what else could we do there? This is where we started talking about workflows. So what I want to just let you know, workflows themselves, what we do is those are a series of tasks used to automate a business process. So it doesn't have to necessarily be contract based, but a lot of it is. And typically those workflows utilize more complex features that are needed, such as document generation. So allowing Docubee to generate an actual document for you, using some things such as conditional logic, which allows you to branch out different places and do different tasks, as well as set things like automatic reminders and escalations up. So on our left-hand panel here, we have workflows. So I'm going to navigate to my demo workspace. And you can see I have quite a few workflows in here. What I'm going to do first is kind of take you into the back end so you can kind of see what these tasks look like. And then we'll go ahead and run this so you can see what it would look like from the end user perspective. So behind the scene, all workflows work from top to bottom. So they always have a starting point, and when this task is complete, it moves on to the next one. So really quickly, this workflow, simply we have a web form. We're gathering information such as a contract number, amount, who we're sending it to, all this different types of information. We also have some conditional logic that we're going to use on this page. So are there clauses I want to add? If I hit yes, this whole field will now appear for the person, and they're able to check boxes of which clauses they want. This is really important because these clauses I have into the document generation piece. So if we click on this task, I have a document here, and I'm using these tags. Anything that was gathered in that web form, and I'm matching those tags there, will automatically appear on the document for me. So I don't have to do that. Docubee is going to do all that work for you. Um, and on here, in these paragraphs, these highlighted things that I kept here is for visibility. When we generate this, if I checked the, what is this called? Invoicing and payment checkbox, then these two clauses would then be generated into this document. If I left it unchecked, these would not be there, right? So when this document generates. And then we use some logic here with branching. So you can see I have three different paths that someone could really take. If the contract is $10,000 or more for my company's process, right? That means that we need the CEO to be involved to view that contract and either make an approval on it or deny it. If it's under 10,000 but above 5,000, we don't need to bug the CEO, but the manager has to be involved before it gets to the contractor. And if it's below 5,000, we don't need to bother anybody. We can send it directly to the contractor ourselves. So we can really leverage some data that we're gathering on those web forms to take us down different routes and different tasks. Now, something else I mentioned was reminders and escalations. So as you can see here, the customer is going to get an email, and when they're on the task of filling it out or signing that document, I've added a reminder here that if they don't act or complete this task, they'll get a single reminder a day later saying, hey, you haven't completed this task. Alternatively, escalation. So once this reminder goes out and another day passes, Docubee will automatically escalate this up to the manager is how I have it set. So we can automatically set those things in there so you're not worried tracking people down and chasing them down for things. Let Docubee take care of that work for you. So now that you kind of understand what a workflow really is, let's go ahead and run it. So now there's a couple different ways you can run them. If you're logged in, obviously, I can just hit run. We also have sharing where you could have this link here. You could host it on your website. Anybody that clicks on that link, it's going to start this workflow. Same thing with the QR code. You could have this, put in a break room or something if it's a PTO request, right? And they could scan it with their phone and automatically start that workflow for them. Again, we can bulk launch too, which means if I have, like, say, a company letter that I want to send out to everybody, I don't have to run this 100 times. I can just upload a list of all those individuals and emails, and it will send out 100 different instances at once. So there's a couple different ways you can run workflows. Let's go ahead and run this, and we should be presented with that web form that I showed you. Now, for the sake of time, I've already pre-filled all this out, which is something you're able to do within Docubee, so that way you guys don't have to watch me type in all these fields. So the only thing I have here is to do the contract amount. Let's say this contract is $6,000. And yes, I want to add some clauses, and you can see now this has appeared for me. If I hit no, it disappears. And let's choose invoicing and payment and tax duties and expenses. So again, if you remember that document I showed you, the highlighted paragraphs, under representation or liability, we should see no highlighted paragraphs. But because I checked these two, we should see those paragraphs be generated for us. So I'll go ahead and hit continue. And while that's kicking off and generating that document, what should happen is it follows that logic branch, and it will automatically kick an email out to my manager. Because if we remember, we just went down this middle path. So we completed the web form, it's generating the document, the contract was $6,000, so it meets this criteria, and now it's going to kick an email to my manager. So as you see here, everything's done for me. And if I go to my inbox, look at that. I have a contract that was submitted. I was able to pull over the contract number within the subject, and it went to my manager, and they're able to view this task. So what this will do is pull up that generated document for them, and we should see some of those highlighted pieces already filled in for us. So as you see, those tags are gone, and all the data that was entered is now pre-populated for us. And if we scroll down farther, this is invoicing and payment. I checked that box. So we have our clauses that were generated for us. Under taxes and duties, same thing. Representation, we didn't check that box, so we should see no highlighted paragraphs here. And so none of that was generated for us. Now we see we have a signature for them to complete. They're able to sign and hit approve or deny, whichever way they want to go. So we'll go ahead and hit approve. And if we go back to our modeler, once they approve that, we go down this branch, it would kick off an email to the contractor, right? So once that's done, we should have contract approved, and it's kicked off to Jim Halpert. So I know that was a lot I just threw at you guys there, but I'm going to kick this back to Ariana. If there's any questions that came through, hopefully you guys were throwing them in the chat, but please let us know. So we covered everything from simple to super complex. And Ariana, I'll kick this back over.
Thank you, Michael. We definitely did cover a lot in a short period of time. So if you have any questions or you'd like to see a little more detail on anything, go ahead and enter that in the questions tab on the GoToWebinar panel. We do have a few that came in during the demo, so we'll get started with those.
Awesome.
One of them was, does the person that I send a contract to negotiate to need to have an account?
No, like I pointed out, those links that are sent to those participants, they're unique to them, so no login is required of anybody.
Awesome, thank you. We have a question of how many collaborators or signers can I have on a contract?
Oh, good question. I forgot to cover that. So thank you for asking that. So on that collaboration piece or in that contract piece, there's six participants per team. So you could have six internal people, six external people, all within the same document for a total of 12. And in the signing stage, when we move there, there's a maximum of six signers.
Thanks, Michael. We have one. Can you send a document for signature to multiple people at once?
Yes, that's a good point there. So I talked about in workflow how we could bulk launch or bulk run. We can do the same thing with QuickSign. So if you have a document stored in that library section I showed you, there's a feature there where you can bulk QuickSign, which means you just upload a CSV file of up to 250 people at once, and that will kick off that document to be sent to all those at one time.
Thank you. I have one more that I'm seeing right now. Does Docubee offer any training to help manage the transition after implementing the system?
Good question. So that's mainly one of the teams I cover, customer success. We also have a great resource center on our website, which has plenty of blogs and white papers and videos. Individuals on my team, my customer success team, they run something called office hours twice a week. So that's every Tuesday and Thursday from 1:30 to 2 p.m. Eastern time. And that's a free 30-minute forum where you're able to come in there, ask questions to them. They'll help you throughout that 30 minutes. We also have the customer success team, if you have purchased professional service hours or if that came with your enterprise plan, those are one-on-one hours you get with a dedicated customer success rep.
Thank you so much, Michael. Those are all the questions that I see right now. While I'm wrapping things up, if you think of anything else, go ahead and still throw it in the question panel, and we'll make sure that somebody follows up with you after the webinar. So to close us out here, I hope that this webinar was really helpful and sparked some ideas on how Docubee can help you fly through contracts at your company. If you'd like to chat with a Docubee specialist about your exact contract process, you can scan the QR code on the screen to schedule a custom demo. There's also going to be a pop-up survey after the webinar where you can request a demo and a team member will reach out to you to get it scheduled. We'll also be sending out the recording of today's webinar via email this week if you'd like to review any part of it or share the session with colleagues. That recording is also going to be available on our website in the resources section under videos. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We hope that you have a great day.
Bye, everyone.